Okay, so one thing that they might ask you to do with the calculator is find the zeros, the roots, or the x-intercepts. You guys put your phones away, please. Thank you. Nolan. All right. The zeros, the roots, or the x-intercepts, and they all are basically the same thing on the calculator. And so what you're going to do is type it into y equals. And then you're going to hit second. And then trace. And then to find a zero, it's number 2. All right, let me get a calculator pulled up. All right, so tomorrow and on Friday, when you guys go to take your tests, your calculators will all be, what's it called? Reset. Is that the word? Yeah, reset. I'm saying it weird. And so nothing will be in your y equals until you type something in there. So if something's in there now, go ahead and clear it out. And then these 3 questions, these 3 bulleted questions are basically asking you the same thing. The root, the zero, x-intercepts are all going to be the same thing on the graph. So I'm going to type in x squared minus 3x plus 4, or minus 4, sorry. Maybe. Why is it not typing? All right, and then I'm going to look at the graph. My goodness. The minus button just does not want to push. There we go. Okay. And so the zeros and the x-intercepts and the roots are all where it crosses the x-axis. And so it looks like it crosses exactly at -1 and 4. But I want to go through this process just in case on your test it doesn't cross. Oh my goodness. It doesn't cross exactly. I think there's something wrong with my mouse. Okay. So we're going to hit second and then trace. And we're going to choose number 2. So number 2 finds a zero, a root, or an x-intercept. And you'll get this little flashing cursor. And hopefully my mouse will work. You take it and you go to the left side of the zero and you hit enter. And then go to the right side of the zero and hit enter again. And then enter one more time. All right, and we are only looking at the x part for the answer. So -1 is a zero, a root, and an x-intercept.
I have 4.
All right, there's 2 of them. The other one is 4. All right, and then if you want to find the other one, it is going to be 4, just like he said. Second, trace 2. All right, we are already on the left. I'm just going to move a little closer to where it crosses the x-axis. Hit enter. Move to the right side and hit enter again. Oh, come on. There we go. And then one more time. And it's going to be 4. Oh my goodness. Okay. So that's how you do that. Another thing that you're going to need to remember is log base. So I'm not sure how much of the review we've had with logarithms, but log base, do you guys remember where it is? Anybody? I'll give you a hint. It's an alpha something. It's alpha window, and then choose number 5. All right, so this one, there's 2 little examples we're going to do. Math alpha math was the other way. I never remember that one. So on this first bullet, we're going to find the x-intercept of that one. So we're going to go to y equals and either do alpha window 5 or math alpha math. What did I do? There we go. Either way, you're going to get this little log. And we're just going to go back and type in this problem. So we'll put 2 in for the base, x plus 1 in parentheses, and then minus 2 outside. All right, and so the x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So we're going to review what we just did one more time. So you do second trace 0, so number 2. All right, and there's that little flashing cursor. We want to hit enter on the left and then cross over. Make sure you're on the other side and hit enter on the right and then enter one more time. And so the x-intercept is at 3.
How do you do that thing again?
The log base or the intercept?
Intercept.
So second is this first thing we did. Second trace 2. And then enter on the left and then enter on the right. Okay, to get the second bullet, we just go back to the regular home screen. So second mode to quit just to get to the regular screen. All right, we want to get log base again. So that's alpha window, and then number 5 is log base. And then we'll just put in our 2, and we'll put in our 1/4. And that's just going to be negative 2. Okay. All right, there's a good chance at some point you're going to want to get that little fraction bar in the calculator. Do y'all remember how to get that? Alpha y equals. All right. There's also a pretty good chance you'll have to do absolute value. Hopefully you've seen absolute value. It's the same place as log base. So it's alpha window but you are going to choose number 1 for absolute value. This is ABS for absolute value. All right, now a good portion of your test is going to be multiple choice, but there's probably also going to be answers that you have to type in. And so if you're solving an equation like this one is pretty tough, like it's all kind of all over the place, and you don't have answer choices to try, you can still do it if you don't know how to solve it. So what you're going to do is go to y equals. And then you're going to put one side in y1 and the other side in y2. All right, so let's just go ahead and do that. All right, so we get to practice doing absolute value and fractions. So absolute value is alpha window 1. So everything on the left side, I'm going to put in for y1. Okay, and then the other side's a fraction. Fraction is alpha y equals number 1, and then x over x minus 2. All right, then we're going to look at the graph. Everywhere where the two graphs intersect is a solution. So one graph is just like weird looking curve, and the other graph is the V graph. And so there's 3 places where they cross. So this one's going to have 3 solutions. So to find those solutions, you're going to hit second and then trace. And then we're going to choose number 5. Number 5 says intersect. You want to find where they intersect. All right, so you will get a little flashing guy. I'm going to start at the left and move my way to the right. So I'm going to move close to where they cross and then hit enter 3 times. All right, and then this is the point of intersection over here. Now, we'll have to round it. So let's just round to 3 decimal places. I think on your test, they'll tell you what to round to. So one of the solutions is negative 4.702. But there's 2 more, so we're not done. I'm going to fill in step 3 too. So step 3, what we just did is we move close to intersection. And hit enter 3 times. Now, if they only have one intersection point, you don't have to move close. You can just hit enter, 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 and it'll find them. Okay, so I'm going to find the other 2. So, whoops, hit the wrong thing. So second, trace 5. All right, so I'm going to move over. All right, and then enter, enter, enter. So another point where they cross is 0. Now, because we're just solving this equation, we don't care about the y. We only care about the x's where they cross. All right, one more. Second, trace 5. Move close.
Why do you only do the y?
You don't ever only do the y. Because this equation, we're only looking for x. When you're solving an equation, you're only looking for the x. We're going to do one in a second. Oh, we could go ahead and do it, actually. Where you're solving a system of equations, and that's the x and the y. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's flip over on the back and do the system of equations. It's very similar. But the one we just did was one equation. We want to find where one side equals the other side. This one is 2 equations with x and y. So we're looking for an ordered pair. Okay, so on this one, the first step is to solve for y, if necessary. And we don't have to do that on the first one, but we do need to do that on the second one. So I would subtract the 3x. And then if that's what negative y is, positive y, we just change all the signs. Right? And so we're going to put into y1 and y2. So this one right here, I'm going to highlight it. That's going to be y1. And this last one we solve for y, that's going to be y2. Now, if my mouse will work, these should be pretty simple to type in. All right, and so this is a parabola and a line. There's either going to be two solutions, one solution, or no solution. What do y'all think for this one? Two. So we're going to do the same, basically the same thing we just did, but we're going to give the x and the y as the answer. All right, so we're going to find, we're going to find the intersection by doing second trace and then the number 2. No, it's not 2, sorry. Second trace and then the number 5. So I'm moving close to where they cross. Enter, enter, enter. And I want the x and the y. So -2, -5 is one solution. All right, and then second trace number 5. Move close to the other place where they cross. And it's okay, it's off the screen a little bit. So 413 is the other solution. Okay. So system of equations, do the x and y. Just a regular equation, just give the x. Okay, so we did some practice with equivalent solutions a little bit last week, or maybe the week before. They do love to put equivalent expressions on the EOC. Sometimes it's on the non-calculator part. So if it's on the non-calculator part, you're going to have to depend on your algebra skills. But if it's on the calculator part, your calculator can figure it out. So what we're going to do is store a number for x. And in this case, we're also going to need to store a number for y. We are never going to use the number 0 or 1 for x and y because they're going to give you a true statement a lot of times when there's not supposed to be one. So 3 is a good number to use. So I'm going to store 3 for x. I'm going to store 4 for y. And the store button is kind of like to the left side of the 1 and the 4, or right above on. It just says STO and there's a little arrow. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So 3 store x, 4 store, and then to get to y, we're going to have to do alpha 1.
If you do x store 3, is that going to make it worse?
It'll be wrong. No, it'll tell you it's an error if you do it in the wrong order. You can't reprogram the numbers. Okay, so after you get that stored in, and again, like he said, sometimes I forget what order it is. If you type it in the wrong order, it tells you.
Why'd you just take 3 and 4?
Just because they're good numbers to use. You can use any number as long as you don't do 0 and 1.
Can you use the same number for x that you use for y?
Yes.
So it's just a random number.
Yep. Okay, so after you get that stored in, then we're going to type the original problem. To get a goal value. So I'm going to type this just like it looks. So I'm going to get a fraction bar by doing alpha y equals, and then I'm going to do x squared minus y squared over the denominator. Now this takes time, but I think you guys know that anybody, you might not know this, I feel like I told you, but anybody can ask for additional time. So time shouldn't be a problem for you. If you're not done when they call timeout, you can say you want more time and then you get more time. So take your time. All right, so
so much time.
what?
They always give you so much time.
I know.
Testing, and I always finish with like 15, 20 minutes left.
Okay, well, you have time to check them all. All right, so negative 1/7 is our goal. That's what we're looking for. So then you just go back and you type in the answer choices, and any answer choice that gives you negative 1/7 is an answer, is the equivalent. Again, this does take some time. Some of these you can do in your head. Like if you know that x is 3 and y is 4, there's no way that this is going to give you negative 1/7. But we'll check it. Definitely not. It gave us negative 1/24. There it is, negative 1/7. That is a solution. Now, I'm not going to do all of these. We're going to talk about some algebra for the rest of them. We could check every single one of them. I feel like you all got that. Is there one of those choices that looks like B, but it's just slightly different? E. Yeah, because x plus y is x plus y squared. So E is also one that would have given us negative 1/7. And B, if there's something on the top that matches up with the bottom, it has to die. So what needs to cancel out? X plus y. And which choice would it leave you with after you canceled that? That would be C. So you could still do it algebraically if you wanted to. Or you could just, if it's a calculator problem, you can do it in the calculator. Oh, I didn't put it in step. Let's write it in step 3. So any choice that gives the goal value is equivalent. Okay. And no matter how good you are at algebra, everybody can do that if it's on the calculator part for sure. All right, and then right before spring break, I think we did these matrices to solve systems of equations, and you guys were really good at it, but it's been a little while. But the first thing we need to do when we are solving a system of equations using matrices or using a matrix is to get RREF. Anybody remember? Okay, you're gonna hit. Not for this one, but it's okay. So you're gonna hit second, and then x to the negative 1, and then you're gonna go over 1 to the right, and then you're gonna choose B, which is RREF. Hopefully, when we start doing it, it'll come back to you. That's a lot to kind of keep straight. Okay, so second, x to the negative 1, because it says matrix right on top of it. Go over to math, and then scroll to B, and that'll give you your RREF. Right, and then the next thing you want to do is get the matrix. And then that is going to be alpha zoom all right. And then to do one like we're about to do, you want 3 rows and 4 columns. Now, that might already be up on your calculator, but remember, your calculators are all going to be reset, so you're going to have to remember that, unless you're using your own. So alpha zoom. Now mine, because I did it last period, it's already 3 and 4. We click OK. Okay, and then it fills in with all these zeros. We want to change those zeros to the numbers in the problem. So we're going to enter the numbers. Okay. All right, so there isn't a number in front of the X and the Y and the Z. What is actually there? What number? 1. So these are all ones. That's a -1. Okay, so I'm going to put these in. You guys can do it too. Oh. Shoot. My mouse is really starting to get on my nerves. Come on. Sweet Jesus. Y'all are going to be done with this way before I am, I think.
I got 1 to -2.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. Come on. All right, so whenever this works out like it's supposed to, you mostly have zeros in the problem. Those diagonals are 1, and then that top number is X, the bottom number is Y, or middle number is Y, and the bottom number is Z. This one in particular just asks you to find the X.
Didn't do anything. Come on.
Nothing? Did you hit enter? But did you do the RREF? So this one only wanted X, so X is 1. If it asks for everything, you can write them as an ordered triple if you want to. Okay, and then you might have to do a square root or a cube root or a fifth root. Square root is the easiest to remember because you can actually see a little square root, a blue square root on the calculator, but it's second and then x squared. Do you guys know where the cube root is? That's okay. It's under math. So it's math and then number 4. If you hit math, you'll probably recognize it. And then if you're still looking at the math, a root that's not square root or cube root, you can choose 5 and then make it any root you want it to be.
Can you go back up?
Sure. Oh, wait. The one we just did? And then on summation, we haven't done it in a really long time, but you've probably seen it if you've been following along in the calculator. It's the same place you go to do log base and to go to do absolute value. You just choose something different. So you're going to do alpha window. But for summation, you're going to choose the one that looks like the little summation guy, the little Greek letter sigma, which is number 2. Now, there's a typo on this problem. You can't have the K and the X, so I'm going to change my X to a K. It would look like that. It wouldn't have 2 different. That was just my mistake. Now, I made one that's tricky because I just wanted to remind you guys this. So alpha window number 2. I am going to use X instead of K because X is just easier. Whatever you say right here, it has to be your variable in the problem, though. Now, I'm going to show you what you cannot do. All right? You cannot do what I'm about to do. So I am going to use their parentheses and raise it to an X and then close parentheses. That is wrong. That's going to give you an error every time. You cannot put anything outside the parentheses they give you in the problem, and you can't make them be your parentheses. So what you have to do is put that stuff inside the parentheses they give you. So alpha window 2, and then you can use K if you want to, or you can use X. So inside their parentheses, you do 3 open parentheses 1/2. You do your own close parentheses, raise to the X or raise to the K, whichever variable you use. And you can either get that number or that number as a fraction. We're not going to have time to do the Blicket today. I really wanted to, but we'll have a day in between the tests so we can do it. It's just practicing calculator stuff. We have one more thing, and
Test Thursday.
on Thursday.
We don't test on Thursday.
No, our test is Wednesday and Friday. I don't know. I know the state dual credit history is still on Thursday, so I think that's why he did it that way. There's only certain days they can do those tests. Now, this factoring using the calculator, I actually thought about it because Nolan asked me if there's a way to factor using the calculator. And there is a way to get the numbers that multiply to get C and add to get B using the calculator if you want to. So what you would do is go ahead and do the slide part first if you need to. Now, the ones we're doing, one of them you don't have to do that step and the other one you do. So if there's a number in front of x squared, slide it over first. And then you're going to put into y equals and go to the table. I should have a step 3 on here. All right, you want to find when y equals 0 and use the opposite. Now, unfortunately, in the past, they put a ton of factoring questions on the non-calculator, so that's just dependent on how well you know your multiplication. Do your best on those. But if it is a calculator one, we would do the slide part first if we need to. We don't need to on this first one, so just go ahead and type that into y equals. Come on, there we go. All right, and then we'll go to the table by hitting second graph. Okay, and those numbers, hold on, let me take off the other one. All right, those numbers are pretty big, so I'm going to move away from the There we go. -6 is one of the things that gives me 0. So that means that the opposite, that x plus 6 is a factor. All right, and then I'll keep on scrolling. Another number that gives me 0 is 7. So what's the factor? X minus 7. Okay. All right, let's do this one more. You guys are doing great. I know it's been a long day. All right, this one we do need to do the slide part. So we'll start off and slide that 3 over with the 20 by multiplying and getting 60. The 19 doesn't change. I don't know why I did that. It stays 19x. All right, we'll put that into y equals. And go to the table. All right, so these numbers are really big and they're getting bigger as we go down. So I'm just going to start scrolling up and see what happens. Okay, there it is. I have a -4, so that's going to be x plus 4. And then if you know what you multiply 4 by to get 60, that's going to be the other number. If not, you can keep looking on the table and see this 15, so be plus 15. All right, then we're not done. We need to do the divide part. What are we going to divide by? 3. So whatever you slide by, that's what you divide by. And then do bottoms up. Oops. Now 15 divided by 3 is just 5. All right.